covering some other news that has just come to our attention. This is according to the FBI. I want to pull up a tweet that we have as well. So, Grammy award-winning Chicago rapper Lil Durk has been charged in a superseding indictment alleging murder for hire plot to kill a rival near the Beverly Center shopping mall in Los Angeles in August of 2022. So, of course, we do know that Lil Durk has been in bars, behind bars, I should say, for some time now. This is all having to do with he's accused of hiring to kill rival rapper Quando Rondo. This is, again, back in August of 2022. So to bring in now to have just a bit more conversation about this alleged murder for hire plot, let's bring in Megan Cuniff. She is our legal affairs journalist. Megan, thank you so much for being with us here on Live Now. Again, we just got this update today, 2 new charges in this federal case. What are your thoughts initially as you saw that update come out?
Really nothing new in the indictment. This is just the feds getting ready for him to come back to Los Angeles and giving him co-defendants in the indictment. He was arrested on a complaint, so it would be totally standard for them to then go and seek a grand jury indictment. And actually, his co-defendants were arrested on a grand jury indictment a few weeks ago, but the indictment actually didn't name Lil Durk. He was arrested afterwards. So this is them basically combining the case and tightening up the charges, tightening up the case as they prepare for the arraignment here.
And again, this one is interesting because there are also 6 other defendants in this case as well. And on social media, the case and just the conversation about this stems back to November of 2020. This is when one of the other people on his record label, I should say rapper King Von, was killed. This is after he got into a fight with Quando Rondo. So this case that's as it's coming out and we're learning more details has been in the works for a long time because, again, the original issue stemmed from 4 years ago now at this point.
Yes, this was a long time coming, and you can tell there was a really long investigation into this. And just based on the indictment, the surveillance images that the federal prosecutors have released, it sounds like they have built quite a case here, and they're definitely ready for it to be in court.
So I do want to read off some additional charges that we do know that the FBI has now charged Lil Durk with. This is 1 count of conspiracy, 1 count of interstate facilities to commit murder for hire resulting in death, 1 count of using, carrying, and discharging firearms and a machine gun, and possession of such firearms, furtherance of a crime of violence resulting in death. So we should also note that in this case, it wasn't actually the rapper Quando Rondo who was injured. It was a friend of his who was shot and killed in this as well. So when you're talking about the implications of this and going forward with these charges, do you see where he's going to end up with the federal government in this case? Obviously, we do know Young Thug just beat some of his charges in his case, but that was a state case. This is a completely different ballgame here.
Yeah, and Young Thug didn't beat his charges. He actually pleaded guilty and no contest and is now on probation for 15 years. So I don't think, and if he violates it, he's going to go to prison for 20. So I don't think we're going to see a plea deal, probation plea deal, and it wasn't a plea deal, it was an open plea. But I don't think we're going to see a plea like that in this case. We could see this go to trial, but I am experienced with one of the prosecutors in particular. I've covered trials that he's done, prison murder trials, other things like that. So he's very experienced in cases like this. So if they want to try to take this to trial, I'm sure the prosecutors would be happy to try it. If they want any kind of plea agreement just based on the charges, I think they're looking at a hefty amount of time in prison. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of defense they get. We haven't seen a big offensive defense from him yet, but that could be coming.
And lastly, before I let you go, Megan, I get another interesting piece of this case. The federal government did say that Lil Durk tried to flee before being arrested, buying several plane tickets to international locations. Do you think that that will play a role when it comes down to this case heading to trial potentially and what his sentence could be overall?
I think that will definitely matter if he tries to get any kind of bail situation. The prosecutors are going to be pointing to that outright. Whether that will matter if he is convicted at sentencing, I think that the charges by themselves will stand alone. But that trying to flee like that or having tickets like that does not bode well for him getting out pre-trial at all.
Absolutely. So again, legal affairs journalist Megan Cuniff here to break down just what we know at this point there in this Lil Durk case. Of course, we'll be checking in as we learn more information. I appreciate you being with us here on Live Now.
Thank you so much for having me.
He's playing?
Yeah.
Mr. President, come talk to us. Mr. President, come over and talk.
Thing that they said, I saw people saying they said that clip from The View.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
When she was on The View and they asked her what would she do different than Biden,
she said nothing.
And she said nothing that I can think of.
Yeah.
He spent so much money running that ad over and over and over and over and over in all these battleground states. And, and here's the problem with Democrats. I've said it a million times. They don't know how to message. Did Biden and Harris do some good things while they was in the White House?
Sure.
Yes, they did.
Sure.
But they don't know how to message it.
Yeah.
They don't know how to tell people the good things that they did.
Everybody knows what you can do in the ring. But what a lot of people are talking about is the age difference. You are 58 and Jake is 27. And that is a big disparity. What say you about that?
I don't know. Let's you see what you do for a living? Your guys? Do you think a guy 30 years your junior could do it better than you?
Absolutely not.
All right. Okay.
It really seems like it's split between people like myself and Harvey who actually were alive and watched you live in your heyday when you absolutely destroyed people. There was nothing like a Mike Tyson fight was the event that everyone and you had to watch from the very first round because it might not go more than 10 seconds.
Right.
The people who've seen that they've got your back. That's me. And then there are the younger people who know your name, they know your legacy, but they didn't see it live, and so maybe they're not as impressed, and they're all going for Jake Paul. What do you say to those people who didn't experience your fights live and what they should be looking for on Friday night?
Hey, if they never seen my fight, they missed a hell of a legacy. And Friday night, they will look forward to seeing that man Jake Paul get beaten bad.
So what are you predicting? Are you predicting a knockout?
Well, that's my intention. My intention is to knock him out.
You're going to have to do this a little bit quicker, right? Because they've shortened the rounds, so now 2 minute rounds.
That's okay. Hey, that's okay. My quickest knockout is 8 seconds, so that's okay.
8 seconds. My God. I got to ask you about the ulcer because the fight was postponed a few months back, I think in July, because you had an episode on an airplane and you had, I believe it was a bleeding ulcer. So how did that correct itself? You're in incredible shape. I mean, we've seen you training, but how did the ulcer affect all of this?
Hey, listen, forget about that. I'm good now. Everything's healed up and I'm ready to fight. That's all that matters.
I read, Mike, that you actually lost, just around 20-something pounds, right, from dealing with that.
Yes.
Was that a good loss of 20 pounds, or have you gotten it back?
Hey, listen, I've gotten it all back. That was the path. There's nothing that's going to hinder me from beating Jake Paul.
You've analyzed it clearly. You've looked at his fights. What's his big weakness?
I think his weakness is getting in the ring with me.
Think he's overconfident?
Well, he has the right to be confident. Everybody has the right to be confident, but I just think it's a forced sense of security against me.
I got to say, what I love about you is you've got this persona where there's this intimidation factor that, I think you scare a lot of opponents just looking at you in the ring. He seems like a very braggadocious guy who doesn't get scared easily. So do you think that, because I know you've done that in the past, just your persona can scare the other person and put him off balance. Is that going to work with Jake Paul?
Well, listen, I don't really look forward to my persona intimidating people. I look forward to my fist smashing their face, allowing them to get intimidated. That's the most intimidating thing, getting closer to death.
Well, I got to say, Friday night, the good news is if you've already got Netflix, this one isn't going to cost you anything, because I don't want to bring up old stuff, Mike, but there are a lot of pay-per-views I bought over the years that I didn't really get much play out of because you ended the fight so soon. So Friday night, I'm good. I'm already in. I've already got my Netflix account. It's not going to cost me anything.
Hey, this is the biggest fight in the history of life. There's never been a fight this big.
You said you're going to knock him out. Can you give us a round prediction?
Well, I'm not a psychic, but he's going to be sleeping.
What round?
I just explained to you I'm not a psychic. As soon as I hit him, he's going to be sleeping.
Do you want to be next?
No,
Keep asking questions.
I'm not going to argue.
Keep asking questions.
50-50. Remember they were saying that you said he was cheap, or they were saying that you were...
Oh, the splitting the bills.
The splitting 50-50, yeah, the 50-50.
Yeah.
Remember, what was the tea on that?
Yeah, do I look like anybody that would split anything?
So you guys broke up at that point because...
No, this is the question. Do I look like I would go 50-50 on bills?
No.
Okay.
And look at what happened. She caught herself flexing and got a bigger flex on her. Now he's with somebody he doesn't have to pay a dime for. So it didn't work. You lost him to somebody with more money that will do 50-50.
Yeah, first of all, I don't even think he has to go 50-50 with. I don't think he paid for anything since he's been with Taylor Swift. Well, secondly, what does she look like? Because she says, what do I look like to not be paying? What does somebody look like that doesn't have to pay for 50-50? What does that look like? I don't get it. I don't understand. You look broke?
Violence erupted in Port-au-Prince on Monday, with shootouts breaking out between police and gangs just as Haiti was preparing for a leadership change. The fighting came on the same day the country's new interim prime minister was set to take office. Videos showed heavily armed police officers taking cover as gunshots rang out, with civilians quickly fleeing the area. In some of the city's wealthier neighborhoods, homes were set on fire. Meanwhile, the country's main airport was temporarily shut down after gangs attempted to seize control. This all unfolded as Gary Conille was fired as interim prime minister and Alex Didier Philomet, a businessman, was appointed as his replacement.